My name is Elise Garner. I'm 29 years old. My ex-boyfriend called my proposal pathetic in front of a table full of our friends. So I got down on one knee in the middle of a downtown restaurant and proposed that we break up instead. But it didn't start there. Stories like this never start with the explosion. They start with the tiny sparks you tell yourself aren't a big deal. I met Ethan at a digital marketing conference, one of those 3-day hotel marathons where everyone is over-caffeinated and overselling themselves. Different companies, same industry. There was a happy hour after the first day, terrible wine, decent appetizers, the usual mix of awkward networking and forced laughs. Ethan made a joke about the keynote sounding like a TED Talk written by ChatGPT, and I actually snorted into my drink. He grinned like he'd scored a win. We spent the night talking about everything from algorithms to bad client decks. He was charming in that practiced way some people are, the kind of guy who always knows where the nearest camera is. When he asked for my number, it felt easy to say yes. Our first dates were standard: drinks, dinner, movies. I paid at first because I'd invited him, then we tag-teamed it, then it settled into something I was comfortable with. I am not anyone's ATM. I work hard. I expect my partner to contribute. Ethan had a good job, made decent money. There was no reason I should quietly bankroll everything while he played provider on social media. We talked about it early on. I'm fine paying, I told him, but I expect you to be fine paying too. I'm not auditioning for a sugar baby role. He laughed and said, "Good. I'm not auditioning for a sugar daddy role either." We split things pretty evenly after that. It worked. 6 months in, I started noticing something else. Ethan cared a lot about appearances. Like, a lot. He'd take 20 photos to post one on Instagram. He had this rule about posting only in natural light. He tweaked captions for 10 minutes to hit the right vibe. At first, I didn't care. His life, his feed, I posted maybe once a month. My account was mostly pictures of my friends, my dog, and weird things I saw on the subway. But as the months went by, that perfectionism started bleeding into how he saw me, or rather, how he wanted me to be seen. The first time he asked me to change, we were getting ready for his friend's birthday. I came out of my room in dark jeans, a black top, and boots. Nothing special, but clean, put together, very me. He looked up from tying his shoes. "You're wearing that?" "Yes," I said slowly. "Why?" He hesitated. "It's just everyone's dressing kind of elevated tonight. Maybe something a little more polished?" I stared at him. "This is what I'm wearing. If it's not good enough, don't invite me." His eyes widened. No, it's fine. You look great. I just forget it." He never mentioned my clothes again. The second time, it wasn't about clothes. It was about control. We were at a networking event for his company, one of those rooftop cocktails where everyone is either trying to impress their boss or poach someone else's. I was telling a light story to his coworkers about a campaign that had gone sideways at my agency. Nothing confidential, just funny in a clients be wild way. In the middle of my sentence, Ethan cut in. No, babe, it wasn't like that," he said, laughing as he corrected some non-essential detail. "It was actually this other platform, not that one." I smiled and finished the story. On the surface, it wasn't a big deal. The detail didn't matter. But the way he did it, like I couldn't be trusted to tell my own story correctly, settled under my skin. On the way home, I waited until we were off the subway and walking the last few blocks. "Don't ever do that again," I said. He blinked. "Do what?" "Correct me in the middle of a story to make me look stupid in front of your coworkers. If you think I remembered something wrong, tell me after, in private, not as a punchline." He lifted his hands in surrender. "I was just trying to help. I didn't want you to sound confused." "Help by letting me talk," I said. "I am not your puppet, Ethan. You can have whatever standards you want for yourself. You don't get to micromanage me to fit your aesthetic." He went quiet for a beat, then nodded. "Okay, I'm sorry. Won't happen again." And to his credit, it didn't. Not exactly like that. The direct corrections stopped. But the commentary never really went away. It just got quieter, sharper, wrapped in layer after layer of jokes. By the time we hit a year, I'd learned to recognize the pattern. We had a lot of good moments. Physical chemistry, shared humor, lazy Sundays with takeout, and bad movies. We laughed a lot. But tucked between the laughs were these little barbs. Comments about how I could sell myself better in conversations. observations about how I missed opportunities to impress people, stories he retold with himself in the heroic spotlight and me as the adorably clueless side character. I noticed. I always noticed. I just didn't always call him out. Instead, I filed every moment away in a quiet drawer in the back of my mind. A year and a half in, he proposed. It wasn't some grand, orchestrated spectacle. No flash mobs, no drones, no hidden photographers popping out from behind rocks. It was us, hiking one of my favorite trails near the city. The air was cool, the sky washed in pink and gold. We reached an overlook I loved, where the trees parted just enough to show the river below. I was catching my breath, complaining about how desk jobs were killing my stamina, when he stepped closer, cleared his throat, and said, "Hey, I've got something." When I turned, he was already dropping to one knee. Properly. Not half-sitting, not fumbling. Just there, ring box in hand, eyes open and serious. "Elise," he said, "you make my life better in ways I didn't know I needed. I want to build a life with you. Will you marry me?" I cried. Of course I did. My hands shook. I said yes, pulled him up, kissed him, laughed through tears. We took a few photos afterward, sunset behind us, both of us flushed and grinning. Later that night, he posted one with a simple caption. She said yes. The ring wasn't insane, but it was beautiful. 2 months of my salary, carefully saved and planned. A round diamond, simple setting, classic. I stared at it a lot those first few days, imagining the future it meant. We started planning almost immediately. Ethan wanted a big wedding, 150 guests, fancy venue, open bar, great DJ. I didn't care about the size so much as the cost. "We're splitting it," I said. "My parents will help some. Yours will help some. We cover the rest, 50-50. I'm not going into debt for a party." "Nah." "That's fair," he agreed easily. The first month of engagement was smooth. Venues, caterers, photographers. We toured places, tasted menus, compared pricing. We made decisions together. It felt like what an engagement is supposed to feel like. Partnership, planning, shared excitement. It was month 2 when the cracks really started to show. We were out with his friends one night, some casual drinks that turned into dinner. Someone asked how he proposed, and he told the story, mostly straight, hiking, overlook, surprise. I smiled through it, still glowing a little. But later, alone at my place, he said, part of me wishes I'd done something bigger. Bigger how? Like something more romantic, maybe a rooftop or a fancy restaurant, a photographer hiding somewhere. He laughed. Proposal goals. It was perfect, I said. It was us. He shrugged. Yeah, sure. Just sometimes I think about how it could have been more impressive. I let it go. One comment. Everyone second guesses themselves sometimes. Then came the little digs. Jess's fiancé hired a photographer for their proposal. The pictures are amazing. We should have gotten someone to film it. The hike thing was cute, but it doesn't play that well when I tell the story. Imagine if I'd done it at that rooftop bar downtown, the one with the view. That would have been epic. I remember eventually saying, "Sorry it wasn't cinematic enough for you, Christopher Nolan." He laughed. "Calm down, I'm just joking." That was the refrain. I'm just joking. By month 3, the way he told the story around his friends had started to shift. The overlook became just some random trail. The ring came out in a, want to get married impression. His knees barely bent because I caught him off guard. Each time he told it, he shaved off a little more of the care I knew he'd taken, painting himself as a guy who had haphazardly tossed a ring at me. After one of those retellings, I pulled him aside. "Why are you telling it like that?" I asked. "Like what?" "Like you barely tried, like you were improvising the whole thing." He shrugged. "It's funny. It makes you sound lazy and me sound pathetic for being excited about it," I said. "It wasn't lazy. It was thoughtful. Why are you trashing your own proposal?" "You're reading into it," he said. "Everyone loves the story. Stop being paranoid." I wasn't paranoid. I was paying attention. By month 4, I had stopped arguing and started counting. Every comment went into that drawer in my head, along with the way his friends would glance at me when he told the story like it was a joke at my expense. 2 weeks ago, the drawer broke. We were out to dinner with his core friend group, 4 couples, a nice restaurant downtown with low lighting, good wine, and a shared bill situation that made everyone pretend we weren't calculating in our heads. Conversation was easy, flowing. Someone brought up proposals. One couple told their story, then another. Laughs, a few sentimental smiles. Then it was our turn. Ethan set down his drink and launched into it. So we were hiking, he said, rolling his eyes a little. Which, okay, I like hiking, but it's not exactly romantic, you know? I felt my shoulders tense. We get to this viewpoint, he went on. I'm thinking we're just taking a break, and she's like sweaty. We're both out of breath, and I just kind of go, oh, hey, I have something. A few chuckles. And I pull out this ring, he continued. I don't even really get down on one knee properly. I just kind of half squat and mumble. So, want to get married? More awkward chuckles. My heart started pounding. And I'm standing there thinking, is this it? He said. Is this the proposal? The table quieted. I almost said no, he added with a laugh. Like, genuinely almost said no because I thought she was joking. It was that pathetic. But then I realized she was serious and I couldn't say no in front of her like that. Would have crushed her. So I said yes. And here we are. Silence. Actual silence. I put my fork down carefully. It sounded louder than it should have on the plate. I looked at him. He was smiling like he'd delivered a great punchline, waiting for the room to laugh. Pathetic, I repeated quietly. He waved a hand. Oh, come on, you know what I mean. It wasn't exactly fairy tale material. I proposed to you, I said, my voice slow, steady, at one of my favorite places in the world, during sunset, with a ring I spent 2 months saving for, and you just called it pathetic. He rolled his eyes slightly. Don't be dramatic. It's just a funny story. Everyone has proposals that didn't go perfectly. It's relatable. I glanced around the table. No one was laughing. His best friend Sarah was staring hard at her wine glass. Mike was looking at Ethan like he'd grown a second head. I felt something inside me click into place. A line, drawn so clearly, I couldn't pretend not to see it anymore. I stood up. Ethan frowned. What are you doing? You're right, I said. Let me try again. I pushed my chair all the way back so it didn't scrape. Everyone at the table watched me like they were afraid to move, like a jump scare was coming. You're right, I repeated. Let me try again. Ethan's face shifted instantly. His eyes softened, mouth curving into this hopeful, stupidly romantic smile. He thought I was about to do a do-over, a more proper moment, something worthy of his friends' Instagram stories. I bent down on one knee this time, fully, in my dress, on the restaurant floor. A server across the room froze mid-step. The couple at the next table went still. Ethan's face lit up. Babe, he whispered, hand half over his mouth. What are you? I looked up at him and held out my hand. Ethan, I said, my voice clear in the quiet. Will you give me back the ring so I can return it and get my money back? His smile didn't just fall, it shattered. For a split second, no one reacted. It was like everyone's brains needed a few extra seconds to buffer. What? He said. I'm proposing we break up, I said calmly. Right now, in front of everyone. Since apparently, public humiliation of your partner is something you find entertaining. He let out a short, nervous laugh. Okay, very funny. Get up. I'm serious, I said. Give me the ring. Now the table understood. No, he said, cheeks flushing. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. As opposed to what you just did? I tilted my head. You called our engagement pathetic. You said you almost said no. You said you only said yes because you felt bad for me. That's not a joke, Ethan. That's you telling everyone you're settling. He glanced around wildly. Guys, she gets like this. She's joking. She's dramatic. It's fine. No one jumped in to save him. Sarah cleared her throat, voice quiet. It didn't sound like a joke, dude. Ethan shot her a betrayed look. Seriously? I held out my hand again. Ring now. He stared at me, jaw tight. You can't be serious. I have never been more serious in my life, I said. If you really think so little of how I proposed, if you think saying yes to me was an act of charity, then there's no marriage happening. Which means there's no engagement ring, which means ring back. You're ending our engagement over a story? He demanded. Over one story? I laughed once. Oh, so now it's one story. That's cute. No, Ethan. I'm ending our engagement over 3 months of you grinding me down, complaining about our proposal, trashing it to your friends, and framing yourself as the one who almost said no. Tonight was just the loudest version. He shook his head like he could dislodge the reality settling around him. You're overreacting. People joke about their proposals all the time. It's relatable. You keep saying that word, I said. But relatable isn't the same thing as cruel. I could feel people watching from other tables, feel the weight of their attention like heat against my skin. But I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. I wasn't even raising my voice. Give me the ring, I repeated, or I will assume you agree we're done, and I'll ask a lawyer to help me get it back." That landed. His face went from red to white. "You wouldn't. Try me." For a long moment, it was just us and the sound of the restaurant, the clink of cutlery, the low music, someone coughing at another table. Then Ethan's expression twisted into something ugly. He yanked the ring off his finger and slammed it into my open palm. "Fine," he hissed. "Take it. You're acting like a child, Elise. This is childish." I closed my fist around the ring, feeling the metal bite into my skin. "No," I said, standing. "What's childish is insulting your partner in front of 8 people to get a laugh." "You're ending an engagement because you can't take a joke," he shot back. "You didn't tell a joke," I said. "You told the truth and tried to hide it inside a joke. There's a difference." His mouth opened and closed, but nothing came out. "Look," I said, "maybe you really did almost say no. Maybe you really do think my proposal was pathetic. But you know what? I don't want to be with someone who feels like they're doing me a favor by saying yes. That's not love. That's pity. And I am not interested in being pitied." Sarah shifted in her seat. "Elise," she said gently, "do you want me to call you a ride?" "No," I said. "I'm fine." I pulled my wallet from my bag, peeled out enough cash to cover my meal, drinks, and a generous chunk of tip, and placed it on the table. I looked at Ethan one last time. "Don't contact me," I said. "We're done." Then I walked out. I didn't look back to see if he followed. I didn't wait to hear what he said. I walked straight down the stairs, out the door, into the cool night air. My heart hammered, but my hands were steady. I got to my car, sat there with my forehead against the steering wheel, and let the adrenaline buzz through my veins. My phone lit up almost immediately. 5 texts in a row from Ethan. "Elise, what the hell? Come back inside. We need to talk about this like adults. You're overreacting. You're embarrassing me." Then 1 missed call. Then another. Then 3 voicemails. I watched them stack up on my screen without touching any of them. Then I put my phone on airplane mode, started the car, and drove home. By the time I got to my apartment, my decision had hardened into something solid. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment tantrum. This was a line I should have drawn months ago. I opened my jewelry box, dropped the ring inside, shut it, and walked away. The next morning, I woke up to a barrage of notifications. When I turned my phone back on, the missed calls, texts, and voicemails flooded in. Ethan, his mom, his sister, a few mutual friends. I didn't answer any of them. I made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and opened my laptop instead. Vendors first. Venue, email. "Hi, this is Elise Garner. We need to cancel our booking. The wedding is off." They replied a few hours later with a form and a note saying they'd need signatures from both of us. I signed my part and sent it back. Lost my half of the deposit. $1,500 gone. It hurt, but not as much as staying would have. Photographer called. She sounded sympathetic, said she'd seen it happen before, offered to refund half my deposit. $400 back. I thanked her sincerely. Caterer. Split deposit. My half, gone. Another $600. Whatever. At this point, every dollar felt like a tax I was willing to pay for my freedom. DJ, Ethan's booking, not my problem. Flowers. His side too. Not my name on the contract. Tux rental equivalent. My outfit had been a simple custom jumpsuit from a local tailor. I called, apologized, and asked if they'd started. They had. I accepted the partial loss and thanked them anyway. I made a spreadsheet. Listed every vendor, every deposit, who paid what had been refunded, what hadn't. Then I drafted an email to Ethan and CC'd our parents. Subject line, wedding contracts and deposits. Short, professional, almost cold. Ethan, attached is an itemized breakdown of the vendors and deposits associated with the wedding. I have canceled all contracts that list me as the primary contact or cosigner. Any in your name are your responsibility to address. I will not be pursuing reimbursement from you for any deposits I personally lost. Consider it the cost of clarity. Do not contact me about rescheduling, reconsidering, or revisiting the engagement. Elise. I hit send, sat back, breathed. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. My mom. "Elise," she said, skipping hello. "What happened?" I gave her the condensed version. "He's been mocking our proposal for months. Last night, he told a table full of people he almost said no, that my proposal was pathetic, and he only said yes out of pity. I ended it." Silence. "Oh, baby," she said eventually. "That's awful." "I know." You did the right thing, she said firmly. You don't marry someone who thinks they're doing you a favor. My dad heard about it later that day. He called me in the evening. I heard you broke off the engagement, he said. He insulted you in front of people? Yep. He's an idiot, my dad said. I'm proud of you. That was it. No lecture, no maybe hear him out, just support. It helped more than I realized it would. My friends were similar, shocked, sure, but nobody told me I'd overreacted. Nobody told me I should have just talked it out. They'd all been there for the little comments Ethan made over the months, the jokes about Insta-worthy proposals, the digs about my bare-bones hike story. This was just the grand finale. 2 days later, Ethan showed up at my apartment. I watched him through the peephole. He knocked, called my name, tried the "please can we talk" line, then tried the "I deserve a chance to explain" one. I didn't open the door. He slid something under it, a letter, folded 3 times. I waited until his footsteps disappeared down the hall before picking it up. It was 4 pages long. The first 3 were about how much he loved me, how he didn't mean it, how he was just trying to be funny, how everyone exaggerates their proposal stories, how I was blowing it out of proportion. The last page was about how we could fix this together. I dropped it in the trash. No ceremony, no dramatic ripping, just gone. A week later, I got a text from an unknown number. Hey, this is Sarah. I know you blocked my main line, but I wanted to apologize for reaching out this way. I just feel like you deserve to hear something. I hesitated, then called. She picked up on the first ring. Elise? Yeah. I'm so sorry, she blurted. About that night, about the whole thing. You don't owe me an apology. No, but I owe you honesty, she said. I need you to know that wasn't a one-time thing. He's been complaining about the proposal for months, saying he wished it had been bigger, more romantic, with pictures he could show people. He kept saying it was fine, just not special enough. My chest tightened, even though I'd already guessed as much. I told him to talk to you, she went on, or let it go. I told him making those comments was disrespectful. He kept saying he was just venting. Then at dinner, he turned the venting into a performance. Yeah, I said, I was there. I've never seen someone's face change like yours did, she said softly. I knew he'd crossed a line. After you left, he tried to play it off, said you were too sensitive, that you embarrassed him. Nobody agreed with him. We all told him what he said was cruel. He stormed out. I haven't talked to him since. For the first time since the breakup, I felt something like validation from someone who'd been in the room. Thank you, I said, for telling me. If you ever need someone to back up what happened, I will, she said. I know he's already spinning his own version. I hope it doesn't come to that, I said. Of course it did. A week and a half after the breakup, I got a message from a mutual friend, Josh. Elise, just so you know, Ethan's telling people you dumped him for no reason and humiliated him in public. He's calling you unstable. I stared at the text for a long moment, then I opened my voice memos. I hadn't planned it, but somewhere between his first joke and the third, quiet alarm bells had gone off in my head. I'd started recording when he began his version of the proposal story. I didn't even know if I'd use it. I just knew I wanted the truth on record in case the narrative started to warp. It had. I sent the audio file to Josh. This is what happened. Use it if you want. I'm not trying to make a spectacle out of this. I just won't let him rewrite reality. 10 minutes later, Josh replied, Holy shit! Can I share this with the people he's been talking to? Only the ones who've already heard his version, I wrote back. I'm not trying to blast him publicly. I just want the truth available. He sent back a single word, respect. 2 weeks after the breakup, I found myself standing in front of the jeweler's display case, the same one where I'd held my breath while they let me try on rings, the same one where I'd pictured a future that no longer existed. The store was quiet that morning, soft music playing overhead, employees in crisp uniforms straightening velvet trays. The manager recognized me immediately. Elise, right? Yeah. I set the ring box on the counter. I need to return this. She opened it slowly, as if she already suspected something. Her eyes softened. I'm sorry. Me too, I said truthfully. She explained the usual policy, no refunds on engagement rings, especially after 90 days. I nodded. I'd researched it. I knew I didn't technically qualify, but after I told her, in calm, measured detail, what happened, she let out a long breath. Given the circumstances, she said gently, we can offer 80% cash back or full store credit. Your choice. Cash, please. She counted it out and placed it in an envelope. $1,200 lost, but $1,200 was a small price for what I'd gained. I didn't look back as I walked out. That night, I went out with friends. Real friends. The ones who didn't treat relationships like brand deals or proposal stories like content opportunities. 3 of them hugged me the moment I walked into the bar. Someone handed me a tequila shot. Someone else said, "To Elise, who refuses to be disrespected." We toasted, we drank, we laughed until our ribs hurt. And for the first time in a long time, I felt happy. Not relieved, not numb, happy. Not because I was newly single, but because I'd chosen myself. Because I'd refused to become one of those women who settled into an engagement built on jokes with knives inside them. Because I'd dodged a life of being someone's punchline. Around midnight, I stepped outside for fresh air. Cool wind, city lights, a little spinning from the tequila. I leaned against the brick wall and let myself breathe. My phone buzzed. A message from Josh. "Okay, so Ethan is doubling down. He's telling people you staged the breakup for attention. He's saying you planned a public scene because you're obsessed with drama." I rolled my eyes so hard I almost saw my brain. Of course he was. Another message came through before I could type. I played the recording for Mike and 2 others. Their reactions. "Jesus Christ. What the hell?" And, "Yeah, he deserved that." A third message. "People are starting to back off him. He's going quiet on socials. Deleted 2 posts." I typed back, "Thank you, really." He replied, he should have known better than to lie when 24 people heard the truth. Over the next few days, I heard more of the fallout. His best friend Mike texted to check in. "Proud of you," he wrote. He was out of line. His coworker Jess messaged me privately. I overheard him complaining for weeks. "You did the right thing. Sorry you had to go through that." Even his sister reached out. "My mom told me what he said at that dinner. I'm pissed at him. And I'm sorry." Funny thing about the truth, it doesn't always spread fast, but when it does, it sticks. Ethan's version of the story, "My crazy ex ruined our engagement for attention," didn't survive contact with witnesses, or audio evidence, or his own friends realizing he'd humiliated me for clout. Within 10 days, the narrative shifted. Quietly, unavoidably, accurately. Ethan unfollowed half our friend group. Then he unfollowed me on everything. Then, predictably, he posted a vague Instagram story about learning who your real friends are. That's when I knew he wasn't learning a lesson. He was licking his wounds, and that was no longer my problem. A week later, I blocked him everywhere. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. I didn't want him peeking into my life, or trying to reconnect, or sending late-night apologies when loneliness hit. My mom asked, over Sunday brunch, "Do you regret how you did it? Doing it publicly?" I thought about it. The restaurant lighting, the stunned faces, my voice steady, his voice breaking. "No," I said. "Public humiliation deserves a public boundary." She nodded slowly. "He chose the battlefield first." Exactly. My dad added, "You taught him something he should have learned years ago." Bets. Around the same time, Sarah, the friend who'd called me, invited me for coffee. She looked almost nervous when I walked in, as if she thought I'd blame her for everything. Instead, I hugged her. "Thank you for telling me the truth," I said. She exhaled like she'd been holding it for days. "You deserve someone who respected you." "Yeah," I said. "I learned that the hard way." "You know," she added carefully, "Ethan always worried about what his ex-girlfriend thought of him. Like, he had this obsession with looking perfect." Interesting. A puzzle piece sliding into place. "That makes sense," I said. "He treated me like an accessory half the time." Sarah nodded. "You weren't, and I'm glad you realized that before you married him." We talked for an hour, then she left me with a final sentence. "One day, someone is going to tell the proposal story and mean it. No edits, no shame, no performance." I smiled. "Yeah, one day." As days turned into weeks, I found myself thinking about the warning signs I'd ignored. The subtle digs disguised as compliments. The funny comments that weren't actually funny. The story revisions. The way he wanted a proposal that played well online, not one that meant something real. People might say I was rash, dramatic, should have talked it out. But I had talked it out for 3 months. And every time he told me I was paranoid, too sensitive, reading into things. Sometimes you don't realize how heavy something is until you drop it. One evening, I stood in my apartment bathroom, wiping off my makeup, and saw my bare ring finger reflected back at me. Bare, free, mine. And I finally understood something. I hadn't lost anything. I'd avoided everything. A life of quiet resentment. A marriage built on image. A partner who laughed at my expense. A proposal story he resented because it didn't trend. I didn't lose a future. I dodged one. Damn. So no, I don't regret what I did. I don't regret ending it publicly. I don't regret asking for the ring back. I don't regret blocking him. What would I have done differently? Honestly, nothing. Private conversations had failed for months. Public clarity worked in seconds. If someone humiliates you publicly, you're allowed to defend yourself just as loudly. Ethan taught me one thing. Believe people the first time they show you who they are. Don't wait for the spotlight version. And now? I'm happier than I've been in years. Not because I'm single, but because I'm respected. By myself. And that's something I'll never give up again.